Welcome to the Know Before You Go Travel Show, where we share all the latest travel tips, tricks, and insights to make your next vacation the best one yet. So sit back, relax, grab a cocktail, and enjoy the show with Penyak Travel's George Penyak and our senior travel consultant, Janet Penyak.
What is up, everybody?
Hey, everyone.
Welcome back to another edition of the Know Before You Go Travel Show, and we've got a show for you today. It's 2021, baby.
It is 2021. I guess our last one was, what, New Year's Eve or something?
I think it was New Year's Eve. We took a nice break there, shut it down around New Year's, but now we're back.
Yes.
Feels good to be back in the studio. Hope everyone's having a good New Year's. I hope everyone's holding on to those resolutions. I know we didn't.
That is not true.
Well...
We changed one a little bit.
We modified one.
We tweaked it, but others, working out and eating healthy. And
we're doing a great job.
I was going to say that has not changed, and
you've been crushing the gym. I'm so proud of you.
Well, and I also have not given up on my resolution yet for my love of Red Bull, which I know energy drinks are not the best for you, but I love sugar-free Red Bull, and that's
bad for you.
That's my resolution
I've been trying to get her off of it.
Yeah, was to go dry January with no Red Bull, and I've done pretty well.
You have.
I have not had one.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Coffee's fine. That's all you need. And maybe the healthier energy drinks.
Well, I just committed to through January, so we'll see what February brings.
I'm not letting you. We're never going back.
We'll see.
All right. Anyways, thank you guys for tuning in today. We have a great show today. Before we get to the show, we got to get a shout-out in. We've had a lot of people reaching out. It's 2021, and people are planning their trips. I know the pandemic is still ongoing. Vaccines being rolled out. But it looks like people are really itching to get out. So thank you so much. Jody from Raleigh reached out, looking to book a Sandals trip. Thank you so much. It's the best way to support the show and support the agency. And then Audra from Atlanta hit us up for LeBlanc, which I think she just saw either the YouTube video or the podcast or both.
Yes, going to LeBlanc in Cabo.
Yes. So Thank you, Audra and Jody, for reaching out. We love you guys. And then you have two more.
Yeah, we have two more. Kim from Wisconsin looking for a family vacation. And then Andrew from Minneapolis booked LeBlanc in Cancun.
Yeah, we love you guys. Thank you so much for reaching out. And, LeBlanc is hot. We just got the video out of LeBlanc. And it's on our YouTube page, on our Facebook page. I'm going to get it on IGTV today. I don't think I got an IG yet. I'll get it out on IG today. But anyways, if you're not following us or subscribed to the show, we would love a subscription. If you haven't booked anything, just click the subscribe button. We're going to keep the travel content coming. We love you guys. And we're actually going to pick up the pace of what we do here in the podcast studio. I think we're going to crank it up to probably 3 a week, and we're going to cover. We're going to
2 to 3, yeah.
2 to 3. We're going to have a content one. We're also going to do travel deals of the week. So we're going to find the best travel deals that we can find, share those with you, and then we're also going to do an episode on travel news, keep everybody up to speed. So
yes,
2021, we're going to crank things up a notch, and we're just going to keep going up and up and up and up.
Sounds great.
Does that sound good?
Sounds perfect.
We're going to be in the studio a lot more often.
I love it.
Yeah, and then so what are we talking about today?
So there's been a lot, in the news, obviously, of what's gone on with the pandemic and, how that's affected travel just over the last year. And the hottest destination right now, and I just read an article about it the other day, and I say this is true, is Mexico, which we've been to Mexico 4 times. I've been 4 times since in the last year. And then we are going back. We just got back from Cancun in November. And then I was in Cabo in August, and we were in Cancun in June and last March. And then we're going back to Cabo next month. So it's like, well, since Mexico is so popular right now with people traveling because you don't have to have a COVID test to go, why not talk about the big debate of which one is better, or just a side-by-side comparison of Cancun versus Cabo.
Yeah, Cancun versus Cabo. I think a lot of people, when they're researching Mexico, they probably ask themselves this. These are 2 of the most popular destinations in Mexico, right? So a lot of people, when you're researching Mexico,
Puerto Vallarta is also popular, but we do a lot more. We send a lot more people and get a lot more requests for Cancun and Cabo.
Yeah, we do, and we've been to both a bunch of times. So I think it'd be a good podcast cover. And if you look up on the internet, like Cabo versus Cancun, there's a lot of information out there.
Yes,
we've been to both a lot, so we're gonna hopefully cut through the clutter and give you the straight facts on at least based on experience, what we think about both of these destinations.
Yes, and I don't think you can go wrong with either one. I think they're both fabulous.
I agree with you there. Like they're very different.
Yes.
They're very, very different, but they offer, depending on where you go, you're going to get a very authentic Mexican experience in both destinations. I think if you go to Cabo, you're probably going to have a little more of a true, authentic Mexican experience there. It's not as not quite as commercialized as Cancun is, and we're talking about specifically Cancun, like the hotel zone.
Like the hotel zone, yeah.
And the area right around Cancun. We're not talking about, getting out into Tulum and some of those other areas. So where do you even want to start with this?
Well, we'll first just talk location. So, Cancun is on the east side of Mexico, and then Cabo is on the west coast, on the Baja Peninsula down below California. So, getting there, if you live on the East Coast or Midwest, it's definitely a quicker trip to Cancun, for sure. And then you have a lot of, nonstop flights there every day. And then Cabo is going to be a longer trip. For example, when we're going next month, and our flight from Charlotte to Cabo is 5 hours.
Yeah, definitely. I think overall, for most of America, Cancun is going to be easier to get to.
Yes.
And I think overall, because it's easier to get to, it's going to be a little bit more affordable.
Yes.
Maybe not a ton, and there's definitely going to be resorts that are in Cancun that are going to be way more than Cabo, and Cabo's going to have some that are way more in Cancun.
Oh, yeah, there's a good range in both, but overall speaking, I would say that, Cancun, it's typically more affordable.
Yeah, and I think, too, when you speak on affordability, if you're going in very popular times, there can be more... depending on the resort you go to, especially, you're going to have more college-age kids there. It's very popular because it's very affordable overall.
Right.
Cancun is.
Yes.
And so, but I think both probably offer, honestly, one, you see the sunrise, the other, you see the sunset.
That's
cut
true.
It down into, simple terms, but...
That is true. So. Now, when you're looking at, let's just say, Cabo, there's two main... little towns in Cabo. You have Cabo San Lucas and the Marina town, and then you have San Jose del Cabo, and they're about 40 minutes apart from each other. So, if you're going to spend just most of the time at your resort, and maybe just, playing golf or something like that, then that's not going to matter to you. But if you want to go in town and experience some local restaurants and shops and local nightlife in Cabo, then I would suggest staying by the Marina town, because there's a lot to do there.
The Marina town is so cool.
And it's hopping at night.
It's hopping at night. If you like to get off property, you like to try other restaurants, that marina area is going to give you a lot of that, and it's very close proximity, too.
Yes, and San Jose del Cabo does have some of that. I do want to mention that. They do have, some nightlife and, local restaurants and stuff. I just tend to prefer the Marina town just because I think it's just really cool.
Yeah.
That area, you're right there at the arch. You can see the arch and all the sea lions, and the fishermen come in, and the sea lions are right there, and they're eating the scraps from the fish, and it's pretty cool.
Oh, it's very cool. And then to touch on golf, too, real quick. You mentioned golf. I think overall Cabo is going to have a little bit better golf than Cancun.
Yes, they do.
Cabo has, a much more hilly terrain.
Yeah, it's very mountainous.
Mountainous and desertous terrain, which makes for very beautiful golf, especially when you're golfing on the coast.
Yes.
Now, golfed in Cancun too. Great golf there. You're not going to go wrong with either, but if you're down to deciding, if your deciding factor is golf, if you looked at everything, I would just lean with Cabo.
Cabo has, I would say a wider variety of nicer courses in my personal opinion. So if you're looking, for a golf trip, I just had somebody request this week, a golf trip to Cabo.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different, courses, great courses that you can play there. Now, speaking of the terrain, because you mentioned that, and it's funny. So when I was on my flight to Cabo back in August, George was not with me. I went for work. And
you got to start bringing me on these things.
Well, sometimes you're just not allowed to go.
You just need to tell the vendors, George is coming.
Yeah, well, whatever. So the guy that I was sitting next to, and he was actually another agent, and he was on the same trip that I was on. And so we started talking, and then when we were landing in Cabo, he was like, I'm just shocked because it was his first time there. And he said, I'm just shocked by the terrain. It looks completely different than what I expected. And it's very, very desert-like.
There's not much around it too. When your plane's coming in for landing, you just see a lot of these desert roads.
It's just desert, yeah.
cactuses, things like that. You have these little, very small little villages around there. When you fly into Cancun, Cancun's more of like a hopping city.
Oh, yeah. You have the high-rise hotels. Yeah. And then Cancun's very flat, very green. And Cabo is not like that. I think it only rains like on average 10 inches a year, so it's a very dry place.
Yeah, I mean, it's a desert. I mean, it really is. And
But it is beautiful.
It's so beautiful. It kind of gives it like a different feel. I don't know why. It's like a desert coastal area. Like the palm trees are like wider around. They look different out there. Everything just looks and feels a little different in Cabo, which I kind of like. Like
Oh yeah, well, and I
think it's cool.
Yeah, and I have a lot of clients that they'll go like to Jamaica, the DR, Mexico, St. Lucia, different places, and they're like, okay, well, where else can I go like to change it up?
Different feel, yeah.
And I'm like, go to Cabo.
Cabo's a great one to change it up. Yeah, if you love the Caribbean and you want to try something new, because the Caribbean, you can have that similar feel almost in all the islands. You're going to have blue waters. I mean, it's beautiful, don't get me wrong. Great beaches. You'll have different cultures in each island, which that might be a good podcast show.
Yeah.
Different cultures of each island. But that Cabo is going to give you such a different feel.
Yeah, it's just different.
Now, the big thing with Cabo is there's not nearly as many beaches, and very, very few are swimmable.
Yeah, so if you are a beach lover, I still absolutely recommend going. But if you like to spend your whole time on the beach, then maybe I wouldn't. Cancun, they have great beaches. If you're right there in the hotel zone. I mean, the beach is fabulous. It's bright blue water. I think the beach goes on for like 14 miles. And even if you go, down south, Riviera Maya, Tulum, Akumal, I mean, beautiful, amazing beaches. So
Absolutely.
Cancun's definitely a more beach, bright blue, crystal clear water kind of place.
Yeah.
Cabo, beautiful. You still have, some, it's not as bright blue water. But the majority of beaches there are not swimmable because of where Cabo sits on the Baja Peninsula. It's where the Pacific Ocean and the Sea of Cortez meet. And so the undertow is very, very bad. And like you'll see on a lot of places, there's signs that say, swimming is absolutely not allowed. You'll be arrested.
Yeah.
Because you will probably drown.
Unless you're like an Olympic class swimmer, you should not be in those waters. And you can see it too. Like you can look out there and you can tell the waves are strong. The current is very strong.
Yeah, the currents are very, very strong. Now, all of the resorts, they will tell you, okay, well, no, all you need to do is go into such and such, and here's a great beach. Like one of the last times that we were there, we took a catamaran cruise to this cool bay that you could swim at, and it was really nice and it was beautiful. But generally speaking, at all of your resorts, you can stick your toes in the water, but that's about it.
Yeah, and when we travel to Cabo, we don't go for the beach. We go for the different feel.
Yes.
We go for the marina. We love hanging out in the marina, trying the restaurants there. Golf, of course, is great. And you have, again, it's a different feeling. And when you go back to Cancun can feel like the Caribbean.
Yes.
It can feel like, especially in the hotel zone. It just has that Caribbean feel. Blue waters.
High-rise hotels.
Sandy beaches.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. And then you're getting that little, kind of like rustic feel out in Cabo.
In Cabo, yeah. I was going to say Cancun definitely feels, especially if you're in the hotel zone, like way more touristy.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, in Cabo.
That's a good way to describe it, yeah.
Yeah,
Which
Cabo.
Isn't a bad thing.
No, it's not a bad thing.
We're not knocking Cancun. We love Cancun.
I love Cancun. I mean, it's a great quick flight from the East Coast and
absolutely
very affordable. I don't think you can go wrong with either one, to be honest.
I mean, it's very developed. I mean, you could walk up and down that whole hotel zone and just go into restaurants. And
there's malls and so Cabo, it's less of that, I would say. I mean, it's still very developed.
You certainly don't have high-rise hotels everywhere.
Yeah, and you're not going
in pockets, very small pockets.
Right, and you're not going to walk right out of the majority of your hotels and walk into town in Cabo. Now you can if you're right by San Jose del Cabo or by the marina town, you can do that. But if you're staying out at Secrets or on the other side of the marina, Hard Rock, you're not going to do that. You're just going to stay at your resort. So
now if you're a scuba diver, if you like water sports, well, I guess I shouldn't say water sports, but scuba diving. So we're going to do something very cool in our upcoming trip to Cabo.
Yes.
We're going to swim with whale sharks.
Yes.
But it's going to be scuba diving. You're going to snorkel.
Yeah.
And this is going to be 2 hours out from our hotel.
Yeah, so 2 hours north of Cabo, I believe where the area we're going is La Paz, which is a new up-and-coming tourist destination in Mexico. American Airlines actually just added a flight there. But it's only like this time of year that you can, go and either snorkel or scuba dive with whale sharks and sea lions. And so we are doing that.
Which is really cool, which I kind of give the nudge to, like, sea life and stuff, definitely to Cabo over Cancun. But Cancun has a lot, too.
Cancun, you can swim with the whale sharks if you go in the summer months.
Really?
Yes, they have them over off of Isla Mujeres.
Okay, so I remember when we were in Cancun, or Cabo, excuse me. I'm going to get these mixed up. I got to specify. Cabo, one of the things I always will, I'll just never forget from Cabo is being in our hotel room, looking out of the water from our hotel room and seeing whales. Okay, so
that's a I was going to talk about that, but we can go ahead and jump right in.
Did I jump ahead? I'm sorry.
Well, I was gonna we can keep going about the activities.
Live TV, folks.
Yeah, but we'll go back to that. So, one of the coolest things, and I think a huge selling point for Cabo, especially this time of year, is whale season. So whale season is roughly November to April, and literally you can see the whales swimming right offshore. One of the last time that we were in Cabo together, we were sitting in our hotel room, and then I saw something, and it looked like this huge splash out of the corner of my eye, and I was standing at the sink in our bathroom, and I was like, wait, what was that? And so I went to our balcony, and then all of a sudden, again, this huge whale jumped out of the water and then landed back in the water.
I mean, it's breathtaking.
It was the coolest thing I've ever seen.
It's like something you see on TV. Like you don't expect to see that off your own balcony.
And you can literally see them like 100 yards offshore. I just had clients go over Christmas, and they stayed at the Hard Rock, and a couple years ago they were in Hawaii and they saw the whales, and he's fascinated by it. And when I told him that you could do that in Cabo this time of year, he was like, oh my gosh, like that kind of sold him on it. And he literally texted me, and they had not even been at the Hard Rock for an hour, and they had already seen the whales offshore.
Oh, that is so cool.
In December.
That is so freaking cool.
So I definitely, it's a cool experience. Now, this time of year when you do go to Cabo, and if you're going, for the whale season, it is a little bit cooler there. The highs are, in the mid to low 70s. So in the evenings, you probably need like a light sweater.
It's that desert cool. It's that desert cold. Kind of like I compare it to I don't want to use Arizona as a comparison, but Arizona, people think it's very desert. It gets very cold in Arizona.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like that, really dry, cool, crisp.
Yeah, so it goes down into the low 60s.
But it's not bad.
It's not bad,
but it's dry.
Bad. Yeah.
It's dry.
Yeah, it's not bad. I mean, we were at the rooftop lounge, and it was March when we were there.
I just had a button up on. I didn't really have a jacket.
And it was fine.
It was fine.
Yeah, which this time we're going.
It's great fire pit weather.
Yes,
that's what we'll call it. It's fire pit weather.
It is good fire pit weather. That's good.
Perfect fire pit weather.
That's a good thing.
Get
yes,
some tequila
good way
out
to
there,
describe it.
Some beer, some Corona.
Yeah. Now, the other times of year that, or just talking about times of year to go in Cabo, one thing to be aware of is low season. So low season is when you will find the best prices. And for Cabo, that's July through September. And the reason being is because it's extremely hot.
Yeah, and we've got some prices to share with you guys at the end.
Just
of
a few, yeah.
We pulled a few of our favorite resorts, and we're going to talk about them here.
What
about for Cancun?
Cancun, great weather all year round. I mean, I don't think you can go wrong. In the cooler months, like December through March, you might find that the ocean water is a little, on the chillier side.
People still get in it though.
Oh, right. Yeah, it's still swimmable and you can get in it. But year round, it's a great destination. Low season in terms of when you're going to find the best prices is definitely going to be like late August through December, not over a holiday.
Yeah, and that almost coincides with the Caribbean. The Caribbean's kind of like that. You kind of when kids go back to school, less people travel, but it kind of gives that window of better prices. I think right now, probably get the crazy deals in Cancun right now.
Oh, yeah.
For the fall, because, the COVID pricing still in place. And
yeah, I mean, really for both, you can get some great prices. Absolutely. Now, one other thing I want to talk about just in terms of, times of year or just touch on again is when I talk about the extreme heat in Cabo in July and September, it really is like if you're going to go and you want to go and play golf, like you don't want to go in July through September because it is hot. It's unbearably hot. Like you can't even.
It's desert heat.
It's like miserable to even just sit outside on your pool chair and lay out in the sun because it's so hot.
And I've got to research this about Cabo because I don't know, but every time I've golfed there, it's been in it's desert heat and there's no breeze. I don't understand it. Every time we go to Cabo, I never feel a breeze.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's like a West Coast thing.
I don't
know. But on the East Coast, there's always this ocean breeze coming in on Cancun. It's just a much more breezy place. And I don't know if there's something to do with the weather or the winds. I mean, I'm not a meteorologist, but or maybe it's an anomaly. That's just how it is every time we've gone.
Yeah.
There's just not much of a breeze.
There definitely was not a breeze when I was there in August, and I was there when it's the hottest time of the year. And
I know there's no breeze. It's just like the desert. It's just kind of but you get that unique feel too, though. I like
absolutely.
The feel you get.
Now, going back to the activities, I mean, you can find adventure activities in both. In Cancun, if you go, June, July, you can swim with the whale sharks. There's all sorts of like ATV ridings. You have all the adventure parks, like with Xcaret. You can go do, the cenotes, where those are kind of, it's like how do I describe it?
A cenote?
Yeah, it's like an underwater or an underground water hole.
Yeah, and
kind of like that.
Like people dive in them. And swim in them. They're very, very unique.
And a lot of them are like it's caves.
Yeah,
And,
it's a cave.
Yeah.
It's like an underground water cave.
Yes,
that's probably the best way to put it.
Yeah, so you have all of that in Cancun, and
if
then
you're very claustrophobic, it's probably terrifying.
Yes, yeah, I would not recommend it for that. And then you have you can always do the snorkeling and scuba diving. You could take if you're staying in Cancun or Riviera Maya, like if you're down near the Playa del Carmen area, I'd recommend taking the ferry over to Cancun or over to Cozumel for the day. And there's some great scuba diving and snorkeling over there.
Oh, I forgot about Cozumel. That is worth mentioning. Cozumel is amazing.
Yes, yeah, and you can take the ferry over there. It's very inexpensive. Just like if you're staying
if
you're staying north of the hotel zone, it's really easy to take a ferry from Playa Mujeres over to Isla Mujeres, and that it's a beautiful town over there. Cabo, I mean, you can have all of the adventure type activities, ATV rides, horseback riding. My clients that just went, they had a great time deep sea fishing. They did horseback riding on the beach. They took surf lessons. There's a lot that you can do in both places, really.
Yeah, they're both going to be pretty close as far as activities go. They're going to be very similar in that aspect. I think you hit the nail on the head when you were like, if you've been to a lot of the Caribbean, if you've been to Cancun, Cabo's going to give you a different feel. If you really want to try something new.
Yeah, something new and different.
I think Cabo's a good one. And two, it's Cabo with it being a little more, let's just say on average, it's a little more pricey. Not by much. Maybe a little bit more, but now's probably a good time to try it because prices are very low if you want to try something new.
Yes, I absolutely agree. One other thing I want to mention, just a big difference in like Cancun and Cabo, we'll touch on this a little bit more in a second, but Cancun, you're going to have a lot more all-inclusive resorts. Cabo, they have, a lot of all-inclusive resorts, but there's also some great non-all-inclusive resorts, and there's some great local restaurants that Cabo is very well known for. Flora Farms is one of them. It's like farm-to-table restaurant.
Yep.
Definitely, you have to get a reservation in advance. And then the other one, it's called the Sunset Mona Lisa, and it is right next to one of my favorite hotels ever. And you go there, yes, and you watch the sunset over, and you can see the mountains and the arch, and it's beautiful. And that's a great restaurant too. Definitely want to get reservations for that as well if you are planning to go. But that's just kind of something different because in Cancun you're not gonna really find that like 5-star restaurants that you're gonna go need a reservation for.
Yeah, and they're out there, but that's more of a Cabo thing. Cancun is such a, I don't want people to listen to us thinking we're knocking Cancun. We're not knocking Cancun.
Oh, I'm not at all. We're just talking about
Cancun.
The differences. Yeah,
they're very different. They are, and Cancun's going to give you. Cancun has a lot of fabulous restaurants. Isla Mujeres really impressed me with that felt like a Key West off the coast.
Oh, yeah.
And there if you want authentic experience, you may want to get out of the hotel zone and go to like an Isla. Yeah. Isla will give you a little more of an authentic experience. I think Cozumel too. Cozumel feels a little touristy.
Yeah.
But Isla feels like, people.
I don't think Cozumel would feel very touristy right now because the cruise ships aren't there.
Well, that's true. The cruise ships aren't there. That's going to make a big difference.
Yeah.
And then in Isla, I feel like if you're looking at Cozumel and Isla is more of that raw Mexican experience, I think, and then Cozumel's more of a little more upscale.
No.
You disagree?
I wholeheartedly disagree.
Really?
Yeah, like even in the
cruises, the cruises don't go to Isla, do they?
No, they don't. But like
so
if you're going to go and like stay at either one of those places, which we weren't going to be talking about Isla or Cozumel, but they both don't have 5-star nice resorts.
Are you going to find like a Kinha?
I mean, Kinha was great, but I wouldn't call it a 5-star resort.
No, it's definitely not a 5-star. I'm saying, are you going to find that like local gem like that in Cozumel? I feel like Cozumel has more of like the don't they have like a Margaritaville, and they have all the bigger commercialized places? They have a Senor Frogs there.
Like, well, yeah, you have that.
You're going to find more of the.
I guess it's more. Yeah, it's more touristy, but I would not call it upscale.
Okay, it's not upscale.
Yeah,
I shouldn't use the word upscale.
Yeah,
but I feel like Isla's a little more raw and more authentic experience.
Yeah, you could say that.
Yeah, there's not a Senor Frogs. I don't think there is. Or maybe there is. I don't know. I can't remember.
There's not one that I know of. No.
I don't think there's one.
I don't think so.
We ate, I'll never forget, we were at Isla, and we ate right outside that little fishing village. Or not fishing village, but like there was all these like little mini fishing boats, and they were bringing the fish in, filleting them up, and cooking them up.
Yeah.
And that was so cool. Like that was like super authentic.
Yes. No, I agree. Now, speaking of resorts, and just, accommodations and where you can stay. Another plus to Cabo that, I mean, you can find like Airbnbs and stuff in Cancun, but Cabo has a lot more like luxury homes and villas that you can rent. So, if you're a large family that's looking, to rent a house for the week somewhere, then I would definitely consider Cabo because they're plentiful there.
Absolutely, yeah, and that's another good thing for families too. If you want a bigger property, that's going to be much easier to find, right, in Cabo than it would Cancun.
Bigger property? You mean like a home?
Like being able to rent a house.
Oh, yeah. That the options for that are, you have a lot more available in Cabo.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would definitely recommend, if you're looking for that, then definitely look in Cabo. And then just to kind of, give you an idea on a couple of places, price-wise and everything. So we just went to LeBlanc in Cancun. And in April, that one is roughly $650 per night. Okay. Starting price. Cabo, LeBlanc in Cabo is actually the same price.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was about $650 a night. Now, if you are looking at like Unico, in Cancun, which that's not right in the hotel zone of Cancun, that's going to be south, but that's going to be probably about 20% less. So, and then you also have, I would say Cabo has a lot more like super high end places.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah,
like a lot of celebrities and like TV personalities go there. Yeah,
that's a good way to put it. It's a more exotic area of Mexico than Cancun is.
Yeah, so you have there's a resort there called Esperanza that's starting at like $925 per night.
Okay,
this is just based on 2 adults. One and only was about $900 a night. So you're gonna find a lot more like super high end luxury in Cabo.
Yeah.
So, but I don't think you can go wrong with either one. I think people should experience both.
Yeah, and you know what? We're talking a lot about Mexico right now because it's
the hottest destination right now.
It's the hottest destination. Mexico tourism is up from last year, and it's the only place in the world.
I don't think it's up.
It's up.
Well, that's debatable.
According to what the data's coming in, unless they're...
Well, I know there was like a week that it was up, but I don't...
Yeah, I think it was like Thanksgiving week it was up.
Yeah.
But I thought they said bookings in general were up like 15%.
Well, I mean, overall, like what I am booking is definitely more Mexico than usual, which I think it's great because a lot of times... Oh, this is one other thing we can touch on. A lot of times I've heard from people... oh, no Mexico. Like they just have this thing, and people have this thing in their head that Mexico is not safe and it's a bad place to go. I can tell you, I have been there. We've been there numerous times. I have been by myself several times for work, and I have never had any issues. I feel like like anywhere you go, you always just want to have your head on a swivel and, be aware of your surroundings.
I mean, I compare. Mexico's a huge country.
Yeah.
There are things that happen in big countries.
Well, just like here in the U.S.
Like, they're like here in the U.S., there are places that I'm sure some people from other countries will look at the U.S. and say, especially things that have gone on lately in the United States, don't go there, it's dangerous,
Right.
Like you can't really compare. I feel like when you say generally Mexico is dangerous, I feel like it's kind of like saying, oh, America's dangerous, although you can go to Key West, but you're referring to downtown Chicago.
Right.
And it's just not really the same. I think that's a good comparison when you think about Mexico. You're saying the whole country's dangerous, but you're comparing a heavily tourist area in both Cabo and Cancun to maybe some of the inner parts of Mexico that tourists don't even touch.
Right.
And
that's a great point because, I mean, there's plenty of places, here in the U.S. that have a lot of crime problems.
100%. Murders are up in almost every major city. Murders are up this year. Like people are getting shot every day. It's really sad. It's horrible.
Yeah.
But anyone can look at that and say, oh, it's dangerous. Like,
I guess that's, definitely. It's one thing to just think about. Like, it kind of helps put it in perspective.
Yeah, exactly.
You can say that Mexico is, not safe, but, look at, I mean, would you consider the U.S. fully safe? Because there's definitely a lot of places that I would not go walking down the street by myself at night.
I mean, you could say nowhere safe. You could look at almost every country in the world and say, oh, it's not safe.
Right.
But Mexico, I think, too, I think they're neighbors of the United States. And so we hear a lot more of the news that comes in than you would in a small island.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we're more exposed to what has happened there. And so I think it has this generalization in the media that, oh, it's unsafe. And I don't know. I'm not going to go on a limb and say everything's safe. I mean, everything's a risk.
Oh, yeah. No, everything is
I can walk out my front door, get hit by a bus tomorrow because I went out my front door. But I mean, I really think it's certainly, if you travel to the Caribbean, it's no different than traveling to the Caribbean, in my opinion.
Yeah.
None whatsoever.
Well, and again, I always say no matter where you go, I mean, even here in the U.S., I'm always aware of my surroundings, and I'm not going to...
Yeah, if I'm in downtown Charlotte, I'm paying attention. Everyone should.
Yeah, and I'm not going to go... do something stupid like in Cancun. I wouldn't go walk out of the resort and walk down the street at night, by myself,
at 3 a.m. or something.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that here either. So,
yeah, I don't do it here. It's no different. In my opinion, it feels no different than being in any city in the United States. I would do the exact same thing I do.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
so I do think it gets a bad rap, but give it a shot. And just if you're doing tours or anything like that, your transportation between the airport and resort, just make sure everything's set up with a reputable tour company, and there's plenty of them there. So.
Yeah, and we know them all too. So if you want to book with Penyak Travel,
that's right. If you want any more information on today's show, or if you would like a quote, you can either slide into our DMs on Facebook, Instagram. You can go to our website, penyaktravel.com, click request a quote, and it comes directly to me. You can give us a call, 1-800-674-3278, and we'd be happy to help you.
Yeah, we're going to have actually all this information that Janet just mentioned right in the show notes. So if you're on Apple or Google, just scroll, hit the more details button. It'll pop up all this information, links, and the whole nine.
Perfect.
So, and then you can follow us on Instagram too.
Yeah, I like
that was the longest plug I've ever done. Are you ready? Are you ready for
I was gonna say, question of the day?
Question of the day.
I feel like we've been going a while.
Question of the day. This might be a long one, yeah. Okay. Would you rather live for a week in the past or the future? If you could go back into any time frame you wanted to in the past and actually live and experience it. Or would you rather go for a week
and see
in the
what's
future?
Going to be a week in the future? I would rather a week in the past.
Why?
Because I think it would just be cool to go back to where I was when I was younger. And,
so you would go back to a time when you were actually younger.
I mean, you
wouldn't go back into the 40s or 50s or you
you're talking about that.
Anything. You could go as far back as you want.
Oh no, that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, I would definitely go back in time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You wouldn't go forward.
No, I don't.
You're scared of the future?
I am scared of the future. I don't want to know. I mean, based on the way 2020 went, I thought it was going to be the best year ever. Yeah, I'm good. We'll just take it day by day.
All right, that's fine. I am definitely going in the future. So I will wave to you from the future. I will, because I cannot wait to come back and tell everybody what's going on.
All right.
It is terrifying, though, if you actually had to make that decision. Would you rather want to see what it's going to be like in like 20, 30, 40 years? Or would you rather...
What if you're dead?
That's the thing. Like, what if you...
I was going to say, not to get super morbid,
I mean, what if the world's not here? It's like, you better travel now. I mean, it's like...
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it's kind of like, maybe I don't want to go see the future,
yeah.
But I probably would want to write down some lottery tickets or some Mega Millions or something.
I think I'm good. I'll go back in the past.
I would look at every single stock price.
Oh, my gosh.
Take a picture on my phone. Be like, all right, coming back.
There you go. Back to the future, the time machine.
Yeah. You know what's funny? Like, all the movies back in the day used to be like, every time they talked about the future, they talked about 2020. Like, it flashed, like, like movies from the 80s, like, oh, 2020. And it was like people flying in, spaceships and stuff.
Yeah.
Like the Jetsons. Like, we're
well, they knew
around.
2020 was definitely going to be something.
Yeah, they nailed it.
They had that right.
But it wasn't as glamorous as the movies thought it was.
No, it was terrible.
Thank God it's over. But anyways,
yeah.
I hope everyone's having a great new year. We really appreciate you guys checking us out. If you're new to the podcast, we've got a lot of great content. You can probably search our podcast feed for just about in any destination. We got you covered here. But we love you guys. Thank you so much. Please mash that subscribe button. We're trying to get our subscribers.
We would love a podcast review too, 5 stars, if you have time.
If you have time to give us a little 5-star review, we'd love it. And we'll definitely give you a shout out here on the podcast.
Yes.
All right, guys. That is a show. We love you guys.
We'll catch you next time.
We'll see you next time.